Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning everyone. Peace be upon you all. Dear Amina and to all my friends, thanks for giving time to me to present my research proposal. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Jihan Nur. My student number is A12119004 from class C, Internet and ELT. It is a great pleasure to be here to present my research proposal. The title or topic of my research proposal is the use of Scrabble games to improve students' vocabulary necessary at SMA Negeri 1 Banawa. Okay, there are 3 chapters from my proposal. Chapter 1 is Introduction, Chapter 2 Theoretical Framework, and Chapter 3 Research Methodology. Okay, let's focus on Chapter 1, Introduction. In this chapter, I will explain about the background, the identification of problem, limitation of problem, and the formulation of problem, objective of the problem, the significance of the study. So let's focus on the background. In teaching language, a teacher may realize that the teacher cannot apply only 1 or 2 strategies to all levels. In the first, teacher was required to be able to resonate the characters of the students and to select an appropriate strategy to them. It is not different from teaching English to senior high school students. The teacher is supposed to know that the students are so close with something fun and enjoyable. So whenever the teacher has to be selective in choosing a strategy to introduce a learning material. A good teaching strategy will automatically facilitate to get students' interest in learning process. Students in senior high school are still young learners. In this research, the researcher focused on the students on 11th grade at SMA Negeri 1 Banawa. Usually, students in young learners think that English is difficult. To improve student vocabulary achievement, teacher can be more creative and keep the students away from feeling bored. The teacher must be able to resonate the students in teaching learning process. If the teacher cannot teach the students properly, the students will not enjoy this learning. Consequently, the teaching learning will fail. As is it found at SMA Negeri 1 Banawa, the teacher has some problems in teaching learning process. For example, the students are bored, afraid to learn, and still passive in the English class. It makes the students' achievement in learning vocabulary low. Their difficulties in learning vocabulary make their achievement fall below the standard. The writers looked at the teacher of English subject on 11th grade at SMA Negeri 1 Banawa still use conventional methods. The teacher only translates the words and just monotone, so the student will easy to get bored and will say that English is difficult. The teacher should be able to use strategies and technique in teaching and learning process. Learning vocabulary can do through many ways, such as dictionary, picture, guessing, reading, game, and etc. To make effective techniques in teaching vocabulary, especially common nouns, the teacher should create various teaching techniques to increase the motivation of students. One of them is using Scrabble games. Using Scrabble games to improve student vocabulary achievement is appropriate technique to apply in class because Scrabble games is one kind of medium that can help teacher draw students' interest and arouse their motivation in the teaching learning process more effective. The reason of writers use Scrabble game in teaching vocabulary is the students can study how to spell the words, how to write the words, and what the meaning of the words in the same time. By applying this game, the students' vocabulary achievement is hoped to improve. Scrabble game is going to apply in the classroom of senior high school where the students will divide it into some groups. Then they are asked to match the question cards with the right answer cards. In addition, the answer cards are in the Scrabble form, so the students should arrange the random words first before they match it to the question cards. This study will be useful and meaningful to increase the student vocabulary mastery. Okay, next, identification of problem. In relation to the background of the study, this research is addressed the following question: is the student vocabulary achievement significantly improved by the application of Scrabble game? Okay. Limitation of the study. The scope of English study is so broad, the research may not be able to reach all the aspects of the study as a whole. Particularly in learning English context, there are so many components that may become the concern of the study, such as the student, the textbook use, the materials, the process of teaching and learning, and etc. Thus, the boundary of the studies specifies on the teaching vocabulary using words games is more effective than teaching vocabulary without using words games to 11th grade students at SMA Negeri 1 Banawa. The formulation of problem. First, how is the use of Scrabble word games to teach vocabulary to the 11th grade of SMA Negeri 1 Banawa? And the second, how can Scrabble board games improve student vocabulary achievement to the 11th grade of SMA Negeri 1 Banawa? Objective of study. The purpose of the study is first to find out the use of Scrabble word games in teaching vocabulary to 11th grade of SMA Negeri 1 Banawa, and two, to find out the effectiveness of Scrabble word games to teach vocabulary to 11th grade of SMA Negeri 1 Banawa. And last, the significance of study. This research hopefully can provide the additional information about the use of Scrabble games in classroom activities and provide information about the effectiveness of the game to improve students' vocabulary. The writer also hopes that this research will be useful for students, teacher, and writer. For students, the result will be beneficial for the students so that the students can enjoy studying English by using games. For the teacher, especially who teach at SMA Negeri 1 Banawa in making motivate to learn English and teaching vocabulary. It is expect that the study can enrich the teacher strategy in teaching vocabulary. And for the researcher, it is expected that it will be useful knowledge for the writers when she starts her profession as a teacher in the future time. Okay, the next chapter is theoretical review. First, theoretical framework. This chapter covers some theories related to the study. The discussion focused on vocabulary and Scrabble games. First, teaching vocabulary. Whether we need to understand every word in a text or it depends on why we are reading the particular text. Unless the students understand about this, they may find the vocabulary load of some of the text rather daunting. Or when we want to speak, listen, or write, we need vocabulary. Second, definition of vocabulary. Vocabulary is one of the language components which have to be mastered by students of a level of school in Indonesia in learning a new language. They will get difficulties in using English if they are lack of vocabulary. As we know, the language learner want to be success in studying language. Furthermore, they must be mastery. As we know, the language learners want to be success in studying language. Furthermore, uh, they must be mastery most vocabulary. If students did not vocabulary, they cannot communicate effectively or express their ideas about oral or written form. 3 ways to improve vocabulary. Vocabulary is the basic element of language. It is commonly defined as all the words used by the speakers when using their language. Vocabulary is a component of language that maintains all information about meanings and using words in language. If we don't have a best vocabulary to work with, we cannot study grammar. We have absolutely no use for spelling or pronunciation exercise, and writing or reading is definitely out of the question. That's why it is crucial to have a good vocabulary work up at the beginning of our study, but also to keep building it up as we go. Here are a few ways to improve vocabulary. First, translate text. First, vocabulary games, foreign language media, and Scrabble games. Scrabble game is a board game played with two to four players, with the players using their vocabulary to create words. They can make a word from 7 letters given to each players to put on available Scrabble board in the games. One of the players must get the highest score to win the game. Scrabble is a board game in which players should try to make words from letter print on small plastic blocks and connect to them to words that have been already placed on the board. Okay, next is review of previous study. Okay. The previous study about knowing using Scrabble games to support English vocabulary learning have been conducted by 3 research from 2 previous studies. The research can take lesson and also there is discrepancies on the basis on the found gaps. The recent study is done. Okay, the first study was conducted by Chairani 2021 with title Using Scrabble for Learning Vocabulary. This research used qualitative method. This research doesn't give the test to objects of the research, as observation, interview, and documentation are applied. There are 3 approaches which are conducted in this research. The first is direct observation of the class condition, including the tutor and the students. The second is interview to English tutor. The last is documentation. Therefore, the research is determined to find out the impacts of using Scrabble words for learning vocabulary at Kampung, Inggris Pare, Mandua, Kuantan, Sini. Okay, the second previous study is by Onasanya 2021, investigated the effect of Scrabble game on secondary school students' academic achievement in selected English language concept in Ilorin metropolis. This research adopted a quantitative research design and of an experimental and survey methods. The result of the finding indicate the Scrabble game has positive effect on academic achievement of the students. Okay, the last is by Supiani 2020 investigated students' perception about using Scrabble games as a tool for learning vocabulary at junior high school. This research used qualitative method. The result of this research showed that the student had positive perception by using Scrabble games. Okay, next, conceptual of framework. There are two kinds of vocabulary used by people for their communication, namely general vocabulary and special vocabulary. The general vocabulary is the words used in general. There is no limit of files or user. General in meaning and use, and the special vocabulary is used certain file, job, profession, or special science. For example, politicians, journalists, and lawyers. All these have specialist vocabulary arising from particular circumstance of their life. Okay, the hypothesis of this research is the use of Scrabble games can improve student vocabulary at SMA Negeri 1 Banawa. Okay, the last chapter is research method. First, approach and type of research. In this study, the research use quantitative research. Kinds of a research is pre-experimental design. It means in one group pre-test and post-test design. Experimental are designed to collect data such a way that treats to reality and validity of the research are administered. The research was applied pre-test treatment, post-test design to know how for Scrabble games to improve student vocabulary. Second, subject of the research. The subject of the research is the 11th grade students at SMA Negeri 1 Banawa. The research used the class 11 science 3. It consists of 36 students, 29 female and 7 male at SMA Negeri 1 Banawa as a participant of the research. The third is place and time. The research conduct the research at 11th grade of SMA Negeri 1 Banawa. It is located at Jalan Banawa number 108, Kabupaten Donggala. The research also choose this place because the research had conduct a survey before, and also the research was graduate from that place, so that the research knew how the condition of learning process there were. And the fourth is technique and data collecting. Pre-test to collect the data before the experiment, and the post-test is to collect the data after an experimental treatment is given. Okay, the last is technique data analysis. The measurement of mean score of pre-test and post-test. The mean score is the sum of the individual score divided by the total numbers of individual. And the last, significance analysis. To figure out the significance of the student's interval score of post-test and pre-test, the t-test for the treatment of one group pre-test and post-test design is applied. To analyze the result of the experiment applying one group pre-test and post-test design, the separate variance model is applied. Okay, I think that's all from me. Thank you for attention, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.